Zhu Fufu, or Fufu as she's often called, looks like a remarkably simple character. In short, she's an aftershock agent who very much looks like she'll be mostly played as something you set and forget. Her additional ability is very useful, increasing the decibel cap by 1000 and refunding 300 decibels whenever an ultimate is used. But that's just numbers. Her core mechanic functions around Hu Wei, the popcorn pot, and the might meter, which is shown under her portrait. It's got a cap of 200, and once it hits 100, if Fufu is not the active character, then after Hu Wei hits an enemy, she'll perform an aftershock chain attack, suppressing Tiger Cauldron. It has 700% in motion value and deals 2/3 of the days of her EX. It's after doing this that she goes into her Tiger's Roar state, which can increase everyone's crit damage by up to 50%, scaling with Fufu's attack, as well as giving a 20% damage boost to chain attacks and 40% damage boost to ultimates. It lasts for 30 seconds, and while Fufu is in this state, she'll get an extra 50 impact. Her EX and ultimate give her some might, 80 and 100 respectively, but most of her buildup comes from Hu Wei, who generate 20 might whenever he attacks an enemy. So the 30-second cap is not something you really need to manage, as Hu Wei single-handedly generates enough might to be able to sustain this. There is an internal cooldown, but even with it, you're going to be generating enough might to refresh Tiger's Roar. And there's other ways of generating might. Whenever Fufu uses an ultimate, she gains 6 points of momentum. She also gets 3 when using an EX special, and 1 with every assist follow-up, although it has a 10-second cooldown. Momentum can be seen as a small buff icon under her portrait, and if she has this, her might gauge will gain a fire effect. This will enhance her alternate dash attack, which you can get by holding basic after she performs a dash attack. In this mode, she'll keep spinning on top of Hu Wei as she Beyblades into enemies. Or perhaps pinballing is a better term. Normally this doesn't do much, but if you have momentum, each hit will build 25 might and use up one of the momentum stacks. But you don't even need to be on Fufu to benefit from the momentum bonus, as she'll perform this attack automatically when not the active character. She'll only start doing it after an aftershock chain, and not before, so it's not perfect, but still very much a set and forget. So she's mostly just an AFK character. You swap her in for defensive assists and assist follow-ups, use her reacts when you have the energy, and then use her ultimate for some extra days and momentum, being mindful not to overcap might. The rest of her kit just isn't particularly good. I guess a regular chain attack has pretty decent motion value, almost 1340%. And since Fufu's built with high attack and you need at least 50% crit rate for King of the Summit, that means she'll be hitting decently hard. That's about it though. Her regular special is unredeeming, although it's not terribly slow, so it's alright as a way to trigger chain attacks. Dodge counter is a dodge counter, quick assist is a quick assist, and her basic attack, despite it looking really cool, is actually pretty bad and does very little damage on days. It also has no real interrupt resistance, so you get smacked out of it easily. Although it isn't all that good, I do mean it when I say it's cool. This is because, with the proper timing, you can make use of it to get the chain trigger attack, also known as the ultimate animation cancel. Fufu will do claw swipes endlessly with her basic, but if you pause and then press basic again, you go into the 4th hit finisher. It seems to be a pretty terrible attack at first. Due to the pause, it takes a ridiculously long time for it to trigger a chain attack. But then you realize that the claw attack isn't a melee hit, but actually a ranged projectile. A ranged projectile with a delayed hitbox that happens to also be a heavy attack. That seems to ring some bells, doesn't it? And indeed, if you time it correctly, you can get the chain trigger tech, allowing you to swap out a Fufu and lose no stun time. Unfortunately, this tech is pretty useless for her. Since you need to use basic attacks to get to it, it's not like there's much point on swapping to her mid-stun to do it, as it takes longer than just doing the ultimate. So really, it only ever be used as a setup before the stun. But because it only happens if the basic attack triggers the stun, that means you would be wasting all of the days from her ultimate if you're at a point where you can get it. Which means it's pretty bad. Sure looks great though. But there is another tech which can be useful, and that's being able to get instant chain triggers. If you watch my triple chain guide, you may recall a certain prediction from me. But currently there are no aftershock heavy attacks from inactive characters. Definitely something to look out for in 2.0 units though. We're at just a second character of 2.0, and heavy attacks on aftershocks is already a thing. Although Fufu's description says that she cannot be the currently active character to get her aftershock chain attack, this isn't really true. If you use her spinning dash attack while you have momentum in stock, Fufu will perform the aftershock chain attack even as the active character. And this chain attack is a heavy attack, which itself will trigger chains. Since it's still an aftershock, this means that, unlike other characters that do not allow you to swap to them until they are fully gone from the field, you can freely swap to Fufu while she's performing attacks on field, like her dash attack. And of course, this also includes her aftershock chain attack. With the proper timing, Fufu becomes the character with the fastest chain trigger in the whole game, making her really useful for characters that rely on this. Like Hugo, whose totalized scales with every centisecond left on the enemy, allowing you to maximize his damage. Or even Evelyn, with Hui triggering an earlier stun, meaning more of her chain benefits from the damage up, and allowing for a quick swap out. This can be a bit annoying to set up, as you need Fufu to do the attack herself, but with a well-timed ultimate or reacts before your chains, you can more or less control when it happens. Yet the most useful tech of all is one I can't claim to have found, as I first saw it shared by Dundun on Billy, whose video I link in the description. Remember how I mentioned that Hui has an internal cooldown on his attack? Even if you're getting 200 might every 30 seconds, the damage and days from having more aftershock chain attacks would really come in handy. Sadly, other than his automatic attack or momentum stacks, the only way of building might is through Fufu's EX special and ultimate. With a 10-second cooldown on getting momentum from assist follow-ups, this means there's effectively a hard cap on the amount of might that can be generated. Here's a neat trick though. If you let go of the attack button while spinning, Fufu will launch Hui as an attack. If you read the description, it just says that she will throw Hui to attack enemies. There's nothing about might build stated there. But if you try it in game, you realize that it does build might. More than that, Hui will always perform his basic attack after coming out of the spin, which means you're getting not just might from the throw, but also from Hui's own attack. This basic attack follow-up completely ignores the internal cooldown, which means you can loop it over and over for a pretty absurd amount of might build. So Fufu stops being an AFK character and actually becomes one that rewards staying on her, all the while greatly increasing her damage and days build for the team. Never mind 30 seconds to max out might via Hui, with this you can build 200 might in under 7 seconds. But if you've built momentum, then this gets even better. Remember that Fufu will go into her aftershock chain if she hits enemies with the spin while momentum is in stock. This won't happen if Fufu doesn't have 100 might though. You can get around this by clashing with the enemy, then releasing Hui before hitting the threshold. But you don't even need to do that. The 25 might doesn't need Fufu to be riding Hui, he just needs to hit the enemy. So it's perfectly possible to get full benefits at over 100 might, and with it getting even faster might buildup. Instead of releasing Hui after bashing the enemy, send him off just before. With this tech, you can get 200 might in just about 4 seconds. It can be even faster if you time your cancels correctly, making momentum stacks even more valuable. And timing is important, because you can be too fast and interrupt Hui's basic attack, so you want to wait a bit between dash attack loops to get the most out of it. That about covers our 3 Fufu techs. Maybe things like the chain trigger tech aren't particularly useful for her, but they're sure as hell fun to do. And who knows, squeezing in some extra damage of Fufu's ultimate might be what you need to get a kill. Although she may not be the best option for Hugo or Evelyn, her ability to quickly trigger chains when properly set up is really useful to squeeze out some extra damage. And with how fast might gets built by dash attack looping, it turns out that Fufu has a deceptively high skill ceiling, where learning when to be on her and when to be on your main carry will be critical to get the best scores. This is just a quick introduction though, as there's lots more tidbits to cover. There's good stuff, like how even without momentum, she'll go into her aftershock chain after a regular chain attack if there's enough might in stock. And problems too, like how you can interrupt Fufu's aftershock chain with a defensive assist, losing out on might and getting nothing in return. So if you're interested in more content that'll cover her and how she performs, then do like, share, subscribe and ring the bell. I've got more videos coming. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.